In the heart of Massachusetts stands Blackwood University. To most, it's a symbol of academic excellence, a place of red brick buildings and ivy-covered walls. But if you walk deep into the central library and take the service elevator to the fourth floor, you'll find a heavy iron gate, chained and rusted. This is Sector 4. For 20 years, it has been officially listed as under renovation. But everyone who spends a late night in the library knows the truth. They've heard the whispers between the shelves. They've felt the sudden, bone-chilling cold that smells like old parchment and something else, something decaying. Meet Ethan. Ethan wasn't your typical student. While his peers were obsessed with grades and parties, Ethan was obsessed with shadows. Maybe it was in his blood. His grandfather, back in his home village, was a man of the occult, a priest who dealt with things the modern world refuses to acknowledge. Ethan grew up hearing stories that every shadow isn't just an absence of light. Sometimes it's a presence. One evening, while sitting in the campus cafe with his friends Maya, a tech whiz, Leo, an athlete with a secret fear of the dark, and Sarah, a skeptic who believed everything had a logical explanation, the conversation turned to Sector 4. The seniors had warned them, never stay past midnight, never look into the mirrors in the basement, and never, ever go to the fourth floor. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. Ethan looked at his friends and said, "What if the fear is the only thing keeping the truth hidden?" That night, the plan was born. They weren't going in blindly. They reached out to Dr. Alistair Miller, a renowned paranormal investigator who specialized in residual hauntings. Miller arrived with a trunk full of equipment: EMF meters to detect electromagnetic spikes, thermal cameras to spot cold spots, and high-fidelity EVP recorders to catch voices from the veil. The first night, the air inside Sector 4 was thick. Dust motes danced in the beams of their flashlights like tiny, golden insects. As Dr. Miller calibrated his devices, a sudden deep beat cut through the silence. The meter was hitting red. There were no wires in these walls. No electricity had run through this floor in decades. "Something is drawing energy," Miller whispered. Suddenly, Maya gasped. She pointed her flashlight toward the end of the aisle. For a split second, a silhouette, tall, slender, and impossibly dark, stood against the wall. Then it vanished. The temperature plummeted from 70 degrees to nearly zero in seconds. Their breath came out in white puffs. On the EVP recorder, a faint, distorted sound played back. It wasn't a growl. It was a woman's voice, shivering, saying, "It's cold. Why won't they let me out?" By the second night, the skepticism was gone. Even Sarah was trembling. The group had spent the day in the university archives, digging through microfilms from the early 2000s. They found it. A headline buried in the local paper: "Young librarian Clara Vance commits suicide in campus library." The official report said she had locked herself in a storage room during a mental breakdown. But Ethan found something the police hadn't: a hidden diary tucked behind a loose brick in the dorms where Clara once lived. In those pages, Clara didn't sound like a woman on the edge. She sounded like a woman who was terrified. She had discovered that the university's dean and a prominent professor were embezzling millions from the endowment fund. Her last entry read, "They know I have the ledger. I'm hiding in Sector 4. I hear footsteps. Someone is outside the door." The third night was the climax of their terror. They returned to the library not as explorers, but as witnesses. As soon as they crossed the threshold of Sector 4, the atmosphere changed. It felt heavy, like being underwater. Suddenly, books began to fly off the shelves. One by one, heavy leather-bound encyclopedias slammed onto the floor with the sound of gunshots. The group was pushed back into the center of the room. The flashlights flickered and died. In the total darkness, the EVP recorder turned itself on. A scream raw, agonizing, and terrifyingly real echoed through the speakers. Dr. Miller shouted for everyone to stay calm, but the floorboards began to vibrate. Ethan knew what he had to do. He stepped forward into the center of the chaos. He remembered his grandfather's voice. To quiet the dead, you must acknowledge their truth. He pulled out Clara's diary and held it high. Clara Vance, he shouted, his voice cracking. We know what happened. You didn't leave us. You were taken. We have the ledger. The names of the men who hurt you. We know them. The wind stopped. The books fell still. In the silence, a soft, warm light began to glow near the back of the room. For a moment, they saw her, not as a shadow, but as a young woman in a simple blue dress. She looked at Ethan, gave a slow, tired nod, and simply faded away. The heaviness in the air lifted. The EMF meters went flat. The renovation of Sector 4 was over. The next morning, Ethan delivered the diary and the evidence they found to the federal authorities. The scandal rocked the nation. The dean and the professor were arrested within a week. They had thought their secret was buried with the girl 20 years ago, but the library never forgets. Blackwood University reopened the fourth floor a year later. It's now a bright, modern study space. But students still say that if you're studying late for finals and you feel a gentle tap on your shoulder, or if a book you need mysteriously slides out of the shelf just as you're looking for it, don't be afraid. It's just Clara, making sure the truth is always within reach. Why this works for an American audience. Setting: New England College Horror Classic setting. High Stephen King key stories. Character motivation: Ethan Ka background as ek hero banana high, or friends ka group skeptic. Tech was American horror tropes like Scooby-Doo or Stranger Things as see match Carta High. The why: American audience co-justice or true crime bahut pasan high. Clara ki mak karas ek corruption scandal si juda hona story ko surf bushin nahi. Baki meaningful banana high.